to Enlightenment of Change on webtalkradio.net. I'm your host, Connie Whitman. I hope you know how honored I am that you join us weekly as we have these amazing conversations with myself and my guests. Now, as you listen to the show, of course, I hope you feel my passion about helping you change, and whatever that perspective or whatever that change that's happening in your life, I hope between my guests and I, we make it a little bit easier, or we share some ideas that you can implement immediately to move the needle and help you navigate that change with a little bit of ease and grace, right? Because change can be hard, but if we have tools to navigate, I think it becomes a little bit easier. Now, to help you on your journey of change, of course, I have a free gift for you. If you go down in the show notes, you'll see I have a free communication style assessment. Kind of important to know how we show up, or how we are perceived, or our messaging is perceived by those we speak with in the world, other humans. That's who I deal with. So in the report, you'll get two reports. One spotlights your natural superpowers, and on the flip side, you get your lowest score report, which really spotlights a blind spot, which I find extremely helpful. So again, that link is in the show notes, my gift to you. Now, if you're loving the show, please subscribe so you don't miss an episode and you get to hear my amazing guests, like my guest today, Jose. But also, if you can rate and review, I am so honored when I read the reviews, and I'd love for you to support me in that way. That would be amazing. Now, my motivational quote today to set the scene for our topic is by Stewart Stafford. And Stewart says, "The greatest gift a parent can give a child is self-confidence." I'm proud of many things in my life, both personally and professionally, but I think the thing I'm most proud of is being a mom. Now, for me, my mom job has always been the most important job, bar none. And at times, I think I felt completely inadequate, only to be surprised by something amazing that my kids would do, or watching them interact with others using, amazing communication skills and showing compassion and being respectful. So I know I must have done something, maybe one or two things right along the way. But being a working mom, and then being a small business when my kids were super, super young, my husband and I needed to create like structure and routine, as well as clear expectations, which allowed my kids to thrive and not just survive. And also, hopefully, provided a little bit of peace in the household. Now, today, my guest, he's amazing. His name is Jose DiCervo. Now, Jose is the CEO and founder of the Mega Mentoring Framework. He's an entrepreneur creating solutions for families and children for the last 25 years. He is a precision nutrition level 2 certified fitness trainer, 6th degree martial artist, author of 3 books. He's a team builder, business and life coach, husband, family man, and God bless him, father of 6 kids. He's also the host of a podcast called Champions for Life by JDC. So check him out. Please help me welcome Jose to the show. So Jose, thanks for being on.
What an honor. Thank you for bringing me here. Love to share. And I'm excited.
Yeah. And let's face it, Jose, our kids, kind of an important topic, right? There are future leaders. They're going to be future rule makers, in government. And so kind of need to spend time with our kids and help them create good family values and all of those types of things, again, to make them thrive throughout their life. So how did you start the MGA, the Mega? Like, how did it come to be? What was your passion behind that?
Well, I've always loved children. And with that came a lot of sense of, responsibility to how do I manage this desire that I have for kids to succeed, to thrive, to become awesome. Because, a lot of times we forget that we have this little person in our house, and we are responsible to steward them and manage them and train them to be who they're meant to be. And because of life, work, issues, relationships, our own dysfunctions, we kind of like messed that up in a way. All right. And so I decided that through different things, if I can share a little quick story here.
Sure.
One day I am teaching, and I get this kid and I'm training him, and then he never comes back for my second class. And I was a little bit baffled because, normally they would come. I never had one not come. And so I started to make phone calls to the family and no answers and all of that. And about 2 months later, the sister calls me back and says, "You never heard?" I said, "No." I said, "My brother, he's dead. He committed suicide." Okay. And I said to myself, how did that happen? And worst, how did I miss it? How did I miss it? And I vowed to myself, I will never, ever let that happen again. I will stay on it. I will find the signs and I will intervene and I will take care of it. And so that was a transitioning from loving them to I'm going to do something about it.
Yeah.
And that's how I started my journey into how do I help these kids. And so that just took off from there. And 26 years now, I love it.
What class were you teaching? You said you were teaching, what was that, the
Yes.
martial arts?
Yes, at the time I was just teaching the martial arts.
Okay.
And that's when I figured martial arts is not enough. And I know that martial arts has a good reputation, but the reputation is one thing and the actual delivery is another. And so I said, let me use it as a vehicle, but I'm going to put systems in place, process in place that will actually deliver on that promise. Specific, a methodology, a method, a way that you can actually say, this will deliver to this, rather than this will happen because of that. No, I wanted to ensure that if I say to you, hey, Miss Connie, your child, as a result of being in my training, in my development program, will deliver a confident, disciplined child. And then if you were to ask me, how do you do that? I wasn't going to be the guy that answered, well, the class. That's what martial arts does. That to me was not good enough. And so I went out to create ways. I started studying. I got trained by a psychologist, 7 years of psychological training. I don't have a degree, but I go toe-to-toe with any psychologist on these areas because I made it my business to become the expert at delivering the results in children. I wasn't going to want to have another child commit suicide.
Yeah.
That's not what's going to happen.
What a horrible pivot, right? Or cause to your pivot. And yet something good is coming out of it. So, I don't know if you ever went back to that family to say, I was
I did.
Did you?
Yes, I did. The mother came to see me with the uniform and it was like an immediate connection. As soon as I saw her, I knew that was mom. She came and she said to me these words. I get the goosebumps just talking about it. She said, I don't know what you did with my son, but in one class, he said he fell in love with you and that you changed his life and that you were an impact to him. He shared those words with me. Here's the uniform. And then she hugged me and just melted, crying. Oh, I know. I get the goosebumps, right? And I held her tight without words. I just comforted her. Yeah. And that was that. But inside of me, I said, I am going to do everything. I'm going to move heaven on earth to make sure that any child that comes into my sphere of influence will not go through that.
Yeah, it's interesting because I do believe sports are important for kids. Now, my kids played hockey from, my husband's Canadian. So as soon as my kids walked, he put skates on them and taught them how to skate. So it was kind of cool. And then they ended up loving and playing hockey all the way through the collegiate level. But I'll tell you, my husband and I, we reflect often on, we see a friend at Costco or something and we say, wow, we had such a beautiful, amazing group of families, connections right through hockey. But here's the thing that's the byproduct of, in my case, it's hockey, but my nephew played baseball. I think it's the same, even with martial arts. I think it's the same, whether it's a team or individual, doesn't matter. But we look and we see the communication skills my kids have developed, the self-respect and respect for others because they played as part of that team. They were held accountable for their equipment and managing their equipment and taking care of their equipment because it's expensive. And all of those little pieces of the puzzle, the structure in the household, right? Because they had homework and they had, academic demands on them. And my kids knew. Your grades go down, hockey's gone. That is a privilege to play a sport. And my kids showed up academically as well as for their team. These were all life lessons. Now, as a young parent, you don't know if you're doing the right thing, the wrong thing. And again, they loved hockey. So we pursued that, and it ended up being great life lessons for them. So I do think sports are important. I think the leaders in sports are important, whether they're good or they're not. The kids learn how to navigate the different personalities, so it helps with that whole level of communication. So but what a touching story. Talk about creating a mission for you to be touched so deeply. That's not cool for kids to be taking their lives, and as parents, we worry every day because there's things outside that are putting pressure on them that sometimes they don't want to share with us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of
Who
times it is the lack of engagement and the lack of skill, I'm going to say it that way,
Yeah.
to make a connection with our children, to be able to excite in them a desire to want to share and communicate.
Yeah.
Otherwise, how was your day? Good.
One word answers. Yeah. We're busy as parents, right? So there's no
Yes.
judgment. There's never any judgment
No,
on
no
my show.
judgment.
We always come from love, care, and respect, but it's like
Amen.
we're
Yes.
busy, right? We're busy. And
Yes.
sometimes we're human, and
Absolutely.
kids, right? We don't always show up the best for our kids. Who are the kids that benefit the most from the mega framework, Jose? Is it everybody, or is there very specific kids that seem to thrive the most with you?
Yes, it's very specific. And so we have two different programs. We have the Mega Framework and we have the Amplified Identity. So the Mega Framework is for children who are 6 years old to about 11, 12 years old. And then the other group is 12 to 18. And they learn different things based on their age group, right? But the makeup of these children are children who are positioned well to succeed in life. They come from families that the parents have a vision for them. They're not just there, but they look at them and say, I need them to, really become who they're meant to be. And so these are the ones that thrive the most and thrive the best.
Because they have the parental support as well.
100%. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I do think it's important because, the kids hear one thing over here and you're saying something different on the other side. It's hard. Let's face it, life is confusing. And when they're trying to formulate their brain muscles and their values and all the right from wrong, they're navigating that right through experimentation and trial and error with friends, with families. And if they hear messaging all over the place, I think it becomes complicated, confusing. And how do we build confident kids then if they're constantly questioning themselves? So I love that the way you broke it into the two age categories, because the little have different concerns and issues and growth than older kids do, right? What's the old saying? Bigger kids, bigger problems, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you share some simple things, like parents that are listening, that maybe they can do to get a child ready for your type of program? So let me back up. Let me ask another question. If my child is in that younger age group, and is it a discipline issue, or me as the parent, I'm trying to be proactive because I'm not a psychologist, right? There people are listening and saying, geez, he's done a lot of research with this. So there's a lot of psychology as well as the discipline and reinforcement. So are they troubled kids, or is it just really for anybody where the parent wants to give that extra oomph for the child to succeed?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So, if the parents are supportive and they have a vision for their child, these children, no matter how good they are, there's always a level higher.
Absolutely.
So a lot of times we think, well, my kids does great in school. They are great at sports. They're just overall amazing. They're great. Those are the kids that will do even better. Why? Because they understand that. That's not to say, however, that the kids who are not there, but they do have a support, that they're not going to be able to develop the discipline. I can share with you many, many stories of kids that didn't have any of that from the beginning, but yet they were able to transform their lives and actually become better than most kids who have it all together. Then you take the kids that have it together and they can see another level that they can reach for. Because, as humans, we want to grow. We don't want to stay the same. We want to grow. We want to align with our destiny. We want the assurance that we can actually get there. Once we have that clarity and we understand what that is, then we can go from where we're at with great speed towards that which is our destiny. And this is the beautiful part of it.
What can a parent do to get their child ready for your type of like, should there be anything that they do in advance, or kind of just come to you with, here's the situation, what do we need to do next?
Yes, most parents that come to me have been looking at what we do, how we do it, and they've been seeing our content and they've been seeing the testimonies. And most come and say, okay, I realize by way of what you're showing and doing that I would like to align my child and give them the edge so that they can then go out and become, high performers and effective leaders of society, so they can lead a happy and fulfilled life. Now that's loaded right there, but they have this notion inside of them that, hey, I want to align them to that level. And so they come. So there's really no preparation, if you will. It's just where they're at. Let's go and we take it to the next level. Now,
go ahead.
Just wanted to add real quick there that if in fact there is a parent, a family whom, their kids are not really ready, because we want to make sure that they can do this, then if they were to ask me that question, then it would be the number one thing is expectation and structure. If we expect from our children, they will do it. And if they have a structure, then they can know how to move, navigate, to obey and do what is right in the home and outside the home.
Yeah, beautifully said. I just, wow, as you were saying that, that's a memory from many, many years ago, because my kids are 23 and 26 now. But I remember we were at like a First Holy Communion. It was a backyard event, and there were like 60 kids, right? And in the backyard, they had one of those little plastic houses, little Tyke's house or whatever. And all the kids were climbing on top of the house, and they were lined up to have their turn to climb on top of the house. And my two kids, I have two boys. So they were young, they were little boys, and they were in line, but they kept, and I was on the other side of the yard, right? And talking to the moms and dads, and they kept looking over at me. And I just was watching them, wasn't saying a word, kept looking over at me as they approached. They were the next ones in line. And all they did, Jose, it was hysterical. They looked over at me, and all I did was I shook my head in a no. I just went no. For those watching on YouTube, you see me turning my head. Those on Apple, I'm just nodding my head no, like back and forth. Didn't say a word, just nodded no. And they both got out of line and walked away. And so everybody, all the parents were like, how did you just do that? I'm like, what I do? And they go, you just looked at the kids, shaked your head no, and they got out of line, because they didn't want them climbing on the house, but none of the kids were listening. All I had to do was nod my head, and here's why. Before we got there, in the car, I said, the expectation. And I said, best, and they go, no, we know best behavior. I go, what does that mean? Define it for me. Say please and thank you. Play with the other kids. And I says, and there is no damage. We play nicely. We share. I said, and we behave. You know what that means? We behave. And so all they had to do was look at me, Jose, and they knew expectation. We should not be climbing on this house. So by setting the structure, but also the expectation, and even as adults, Jose, when I coach and you set that expectation of, here's what I need you to do next, and I'm spending time with you, you're paying me, but you're spending time with me. The expectation is you need to execute. People will live up to the expectations. So that was just a funny story that popped into my head.
Yes. Good connection there. Yes, absolutely.
And I think also, and you see this, I mean, you have 6 kids. It's hard being a parent. I think it's hard being a kid, and all of the pressures from social media now, I think does damage to our level of kids' confidence. I don't know. What do you see with the kids you work with?
Yes, absolutely. That's really powerful right there. It's definitely difficult to be a parent, and not just be a parent, but you get to question as a parent, am I doing the right thing for
Yeah.
my children?
Sure.
With so much information, so many things to compare yourself to and all of that.
Yeah.
Similarly, the same, it's very difficult to be a child in today's world with social media, which can be really, really good. It's
Agree.
also a medium for kids to level themselves or, put others down. And it's kind of like a false sense of identity. I'm going to say it that way
Yeah.
because, in social media, you can make up anything, look however you want it to be, and be taken for reality, especially by kids when they don't understand reality. And that's what we come in as parents to kind of like chew it down for them and explain to them and help them to gain understanding as to what it is they're actually seeing and the reality of life, that is not real. That is just what you're seeing. Now, how can we make sense of all of that? And that way they don't get damaged or, build a self-esteem that's really not healthy
Yeah.
for their life.
Yeah. And you're all about mentorship, right? And we think of mentorship at work. I should get a work, mentor for my career. But who and why do children really they need that mentorship at these very
Yes.
young ages? What have you found through your journey with this?
Listen, I go by the motto, it takes a village. Okay.
Agree.
And once you find that village, you want to make sure that that village has the same beliefs, same desires, same outlook on life, so that you can get to where you want. You don't want them to divert them somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so what I have found is that, it takes a lot from a parent to be able to navigate the situations that rise. And so one of the things that happen is that parents lose the influence of their kids, not because they're bad or they're not good enough or they don't know enough, but because there's so much that the kids are exposed to that suddenly, Dad, Mom, I know better. I heard it from, and so now you have all these things. So a good mentor, a good framework will not only redirect that, but also create that connection between parent and child,
Yeah.
where the family unit now becomes cohesive and they have engaging conversations and they have a mission for their house, they have a vision for their house, and they have a atmosphere and an environment in the home that is conducive for the family to thrive in a healthy way, rather than just letting it happen. And then there's a lot of things in the middle that create this little gap that they have that does not allow for these things to happen. So yes, it's very, very difficult.
Yeah. But mentorship works. We know that as adults in our careers.
Absolutely.
So it's the same concept. Why wouldn't you have somebody who's ahead of you in life, do some mentoring to help you fast forward and try to save you from mistakes? Not that I think mistakes are good for kids, because
Yes,
it
yes.
humbles us, right? It resets us. It makes us work harder. It makes us explore the shadow
Yes.
side of self, right? All of those things. But on the same token, if the messaging is the same from the mentor and the parent, there's consistency.
Oh, that's
Will
beautiful
buy
right
in.
there.
Yeah, the kid will
Oh,
buy in.
yes. Absolutely.
Can
That
can you
priceless.
can you share some examples, Jose, that you've actually have seen with the kids that you were, the kids and the parents, right? Because you're kind of the liaison between
Yes.
that communication of parent to child, as well as being the mentor, obviously the supporter of the
Yes.
kid. So what are some good examples that you can share with everyone?
I can give you several examples, and I'm going to choose one of them
Okay.
because this one is unique. And like this one, I have two other ones. So a family young couple with young kids, ages 10, 11 years old, going on 12, another one that is 7, going on 8. And they had gone to different issues and challenges with school, behavior, all of this. And then they were diagnosed with autism, ADHD, ADD, medication, all of these things. And it was really driving the relationship of the marriage a strain. It was really pulling because what do you do? right? What do? You see your kids like that, the teachers say one thing, you're experiencing them another way, and you're really pulled and torn, and the doctors say this, and you lose your way. You lose your way. It's difficult. However, when we come into the picture, we assess the entire situation, the whole thing. And we went from behavior to foods, nutrition, to medication off, to the relationship, to the family unit. When I tell you priceless, it is priceless. Now, these kids can eat any food, practically any food, okay? They are self-starters. They have autonomy. I mean, they wake up themselves in the morning, where before, it was mom or dad waking them up, making sure they're taking the brushing their teeth, blah, blah, blah. All these things that they should be able to do by themselves, they were having to do it. Now they do it on their own. They even wake up the father. Hey, it's time to wake up, take me to school. They take care of their breakfast because why? There's a structure, all right?
I love it.
And kids thrive in a structured environment. And now what happens as a result of that? There's peace. There's the joy of parenting. Not to say that there won't be issues, not to say any of that. But look, as a result of that, academics went up. The younger kid was put in private school, and the school was going to say, I'm not sure we can take your child because, the behavior and the need, I don't know if we can do it. Well, guess what? This kid is straight A. Straight A's.
Awesome.
So it was a trial, and now they want to keep him. And so, I mean, I can tell you many stories, several stories in this same realm of outstanding transformation that, I mean, experiencing. One of the kids was jacked up, then down, and then jack him up, and then put him down to go to sleep, jack him up to wake up. And it was like haywiring all over the place. And let me just say this, man, the parents, you got to give it to the parents.
You do.
The level of trust to come and disrupt their world that was chaotic, but to disrupt it again, to bring it to a better place, that requires trust. That requires
Absolutely.
belief. That requires a certain kind to say, I need to do this. And to be able to get in touch with their own thought process, belief, as a parent, self-esteem, all of these things. Like, I have to give it to them because not everyone is willing.
It's tough being a parent, Jose. It's tough
Very
being a
tough.
kid. These
Yes.
are, life is not a bowl of cherries all the time, right? It has the ebbs and the flows, the ups and downs. So, but
Yes.
it's hard. And having children with ADHD or any of those things that are just there's a lot, right? The autism, all of that, we hear about it a lot in the children. But to be a parent, like, we don't even know, like I said, sometimes I was like, am I ruining these kids? Because we don't know, was that the right way to handle it? Was it the wrong way? And then you have issues at school and stuff like that. So parenting is really, it's definitely, again, no judgment zone here. What holds parent? We're almost out of time, but I do have one more question that I think is important for all the parents that are listening. What do you see hold parents back from joining a group or working with someone like you? Is there things that they question before they're able to say, okay, maybe this can work for me?
Yes. Well, the first thing I have found is the filter that they have. In other words, if I want to put my child in a program like this, maybe that makes me a bad parent. And so maybe I failed them because the belief is I'm a parent, so I should be able to handle my kids.
Yeah.
So that's one thought process. The other one I've seen is my kids got it all together, love me. They don't need it. But everyone needs it. From the best to those who are
Struggling,
lacking the chance.
Yeah.
Everyone needs it. It's not about you're a bad parent. It's not about your kids are no good. It's about let's give them the edge so that they can become high performers and they can be effective citizens and live a happy, fulfilling life. That's what it's about.
It is. I get it though. Like as a parent, it's like, how am I not able to help this kid, and like with the ADHD, the medication, how do I get my kid off the medication? Like I'm the mom, I should know this. I really get that psychological, like, what did I do wrong? And the reality is we don't do anything wrong. We have blind
Correct.
spots because, like you said, I'm not a psychologist. When my kids had issues, I didn't know really how to navigate that because I don't have that background, right? So I
Right.
think having people like you, and I like that you used the word trust before, because I think that's critical. If you could show them, right, those testimonials, those examples, the kids that are thriving, that probably come into your facility and help with the younger kids. I don't know if you do that, but you become this very intimate family with the people that you work with. That's the trust, and that's what you can show people to help them come on board.
Yes. By the way, I wanted to share this with you. It is 100% online.
Oh, that's fabulous. So it doesn't
Yes.
need the physical that I come. So I think that's amazing. So now we can really do this globally or nationally for
Yes.
anybody listening. You don't have to
Yes.
be on the East Coast or in driving distance. I love it. We're out of time, but here's the deal, everyone. If you are curious, if you are interested, if you are questioning, could there be hope for what I'm doing, or could what I'm doing with my high performer, can I even help them gain more confidence and growth exponentially? Because we don't know what we don't know, right? Like I started with my communication stuff. We have blind spots. We all have blind spots. Nobody is immune to it. So if you could be an answer to help with those kids up from young to the 18, right? You have the two areas. Please go and check out Jose's website. It's megamentoring.com. Of course, I will put that in the show notes. And if you have a question directly for Jose, please email him. It's winwithjdc@gmail.com. And you do have a free gift. He has a book, and we will put the PDF link in the show notes, guys, so that you have access to that and read it. And Jose, thank you for sharing that and giving the free gifts, because I think, I know I come from love with everything I do, with every client, with every corporate client, private, it doesn't matter, right? It really starts with love. And by sharing our gifts, this free gift in this case, parents can read it and say, oh my gosh, that's me. Oh my gosh, that's my child. And have an exploratory call with you, I think is really important. There is hope, there is resources. And as a parent, we want our kids to thrive, right? We don't want them to just survive. We really do want them to thrive. So thank you. What is the name of the book, if I can ask?
Thank you. Good question. The name of the book is Becoming a Black Belt. And it
Oh,
is more than just kicking on a punch. It's becoming a black belt in your behavior, your personality, principles for living life, how to take something, train it, develop it, and make it yours. Nutrition, right? Structure for the family. It is, I believe, a great, great book to take you from where you're at and elevate your life and increase your personal value for society, for the people around you, for your family, for your friends. It is, I believe, I know I wrote it, but I believe it's a great, great book.
See, I'm visual too. So as soon as you said that, right, the black belt, everybody knows what a black belt is. Everybody
Yes,
knows, right? So now all of a sudden, but we could become a black belt in our life, right? We could become the
yes,
black belt for our children, right? And have them become
yes,
black belts in life. So I just love that analogy, that phraseology. To me, it's a visual. So thank you for that. I love
yes.
it. I can't wait to
Thank
read it.
you.
That's awesome.
Yes,
My
thank
kids are
you.
big
Yes.
chooches now, but I love it. I love it. Someday I hope to have grandkids so I could partake in, my kids reading these books going forward when they become parents as well. Jose, truly an honor. Thank you so much. What you're doing out there is so important. These kids are our future. We have to give them the leg up. We really have to give them the leg up. So thank you so much for what you're doing. It's important.
Thank you, Connie.
Yeah,
Thank you for
honored to
having me
have you on.
here.
Yeah.
And thank you for your audience. And I love you all. You have an amazing day.
Thank you so much, Jose. And I hope you will join me weekly as we question, build, and discover together, no matter where you are in change, no matter where you are in your life. Between my guests and I, we really do have resources, ideas, tools like the book to share, for you to implement and try out in your life to see if we can help with wherever your situation is, right? Wherever you are now, it's not forever, right? There is tools and resources out there. So again, please download the book. Please subscribe to the show. And I really, truly hope that between my guests and I, my little stories and my guests sharing the work they're doing and how they're imparting on the world. I hope it helps you in your journey of change, because we're in this together and our kids really are our future. So Jose, thank you again. And thank you all for listening. You've been listening to Enlightenment of Change with me, your host, Connie Whitman, on webtalkradio.net. I am honored to have you on this journey of change with me. And I hope you tune in every week for more tips, strategies, and ideas to make your change a little bit easier. I love you all, and I'll see you next week. Have a great one, everyone. Thanks.